Hi, everybody, and welcome to our 2025 Culture of Care Summit session, Bring the Fun, Energize Meetings with a People First Focus. Let's be honest, when most of us hear meeting, fun is not the first word that comes to mind, but what if it could be? What if meetings were moments where people actually looked forward to them because they felt energized, connected, and heard? I'm Stephanie Kilby, and I'm the University of Arizona Global Campus Director of Student Success. And this is my colleague, Alexa Dunne, UAGC Associate Director, Articulation and Prior Learning Assessment. In this session, we're going to flip the script on meetings. Together, we will explore simple, people-first strategies to create spaces where collaboration thrives, where creativity flows, and yes, fun is part of the agenda. Because when we bring the fun, we bring out the best in everyone. Alexa, you really brought this idea to light when the call for proposals went out for this summit. What had you excited about this topic?
So the idea for this session actually arose from a meeting that you, Stephanie, hosted. I left the meeting thinking about all of the options and strategies that you've been using over the past year and a half, and that energy and a focus and a sense of accomplishment was brought back to this meeting that we've had that was really becoming rote. So the learning outcomes here are a lovely academic way of saying that we're going to be talking about the benefits of incorporating fun into our meetings. But it's important to note that we're using fun in like the broadest sense, meaning enjoyable. So we will look at some strategies for developing effective meetings and then understanding how planning a good meeting is part of a strong culture of care. And we'll finish up by sharing a handful of tools that have been used in various meetings to help us accomplish our meeting goals. So, Stephanie, why is fun so important in a meeting?
That is the million-dollar question, right? Because I think that we typically consider fun as additive. We don't think of it as having a purpose in and of itself, but that really could not be further from the truth. So how often do we look at the day ahead of us? We look at our calendar and what we see is back to back to back to back meetings. A fun break or activity at the beginning of a meeting can really give our brains a reset before we start jumping into activities or the work that's at hand. This might be especially important when we think about the virtual environment because we do not have the luxury of standing up and walking down the hall to our next space. We have to jump from one virtual room to the other. We really need to be intentional about creating a space where our minds can reset. Increasing fun can also increase overall productivity. You don't think about them together, but that's where they really, play well together. An example of this could be allowing for creative opportunities such as coloring while talking and brainstorming to enhance the brainstorming ideas. This helps the brain to relax and to focus. And focus improves when we create space for participants to reset, to get into the appropriate mindset for the present situation, instead of carrying with us the weight or the thoughts or that overflow from prior meetings from one to the next throughout the day. And when the mood is positive and we feel able to focus, we can really engage more fully with the content and the topic.
Okay. So there's a saying out there that failing to plan is planning to fail. And we want to make our meetings as successful as possible. So, The Surprising Science of Meetings by Stephen Rogelberg is a good resource for those who enjoy scientific studies and data analysis. It's chock full of tips and tricks to better plan our meetings. We're going to highlight a few that are most relevant to our topic today. So the thing that really jumped out at me when I read this book is the data proving that the very first comment in a meeting, whether it is positive or negative, will set the tone for the entire meeting. And a positive tone results in a more successful meeting. So studies have proved how powerful that comment is. And now that we know it, we can plan the beginning of our meetings and support that positive tone for attendees and get those more successful meeting outcomes. So what else do we have to prepare ahead of time? If you have a really beefy agenda, make sure that your most important topic is the first thing on it. So we often spend the most time on the first thing that we talk about in a meeting. Then the second thing is to make sure you have a clock in the room, and everyone has to be aware of how much time is going to be spent on each topic and really respect that time allotted. Your meeting will stay on track and move along more productively. Then a really good thing to do is to make sure that if you need decisions by the end of the meeting, have a list of them and have yourself or someone else keep track of if they've been made. That way, nothing is missed. And at the end of the meeting, there aren't any unnecessary follow ups needed. So, participation is a really interesting one. You have to ask yourself, what do you expect of your attendees? Will they need to bring materials or data with them? Can they participate with no prior preparation? If preparation is required, are you going to tell them? And if so, how? Right? And you might also want to set some ground rules. Depending on your topic, you might set a rule of no critiques. Discuss these ideas in a positive manner only. And then there's also blue sky thinking, which Stephanie, you introduced me to, in which all ideas should be focused on what is this ideal state that we want to get to. Sometimes we self-edit ourselves because we aren't there yet. We don't have the resources or capacity yet. In a brainstorming session, we want to aspire to those blue sky ideas. So setting ground rules is a really important piece of planning your meeting. And that brings us to the next point. By planning your meeting, encouraging your participants to participate, utilizing tools, and setting that positive tone, you will see the results, including more ideas, decisions made, engaged attendees, and at the end of the meeting, your goals will be met. I think we can all relate to that feeling of accomplishment as we walk out of a successful meeting and how much it provides a boost to our next task that we're going into.
So let's talk a little bit about identifying activities that you might want to bring into your meeting space. We'll focus on online meetings primarily, but you can certainly leverage these thoughts for in-person meetings as well. First, consider who is in the room. What do you know about the personalities, the work styles, the preferences of the people attending? Some people may thrive on competition, and others may prefer collaboration. Some people may be very comfortable sharing out loud in front of a team in that setting. Others might prefer to reflect on the prompts you provide and submit some type of written response. Based on the group and their preferences, you may lean more toward one option than another. For example, you might think, should I introduce a trivia challenge or a collaborative team building icebreaker? Might I utilize a poll to engage people or just ask them to raise their hand and speak up? All of this comes into play when you're thinking about who is in this meeting with you and who are you inviting to engage. Acknowledging that while you're planning your activities will help you to create a space where your group will be more likely to engage than not. And you also want to recognize the group size. Smaller groups allow for deeper discussion. Larger groups might need more structured activities. Adapt your activities to fit the space you have, whether it's virtual or in person. Notice I said adapt, not nix an idea just because the space you might believe to be is wrong. You might just need to get creative to make it work, but be thoughtful and be intentional. And pay attention. Are people comfortable? Are they visible? Are they able to interact easily? You can also bring in things like music, visuals, or even movement to really create an inviting atmosphere. We'll talk in a few minutes about online meeting tools that can boost that fun factor for you, but also would love to first consider tools that you might already have accessible. Most online meeting platforms already offer built-in resources, things like screen sharing, annotation, breakout rooms, using your reactions, those thumbs up, thumbs down, virtual backgrounds. They even have immersive settings where you can pull everybody into one visual picture so it will appear like you're in the same physical meeting space. So all of these things are available. Be adventurous. Try them out. See what works. See what doesn't. Ask your team what works for them. Some of my favorite meetings that I think about are when there is a themed virtual background challenge. So, for example, maybe mid-January, it's a little chilly. So you think a beach theme might sit well, so people can come with their favorite beach theme background. Maybe midsummer, it's share your best vacation background. Have some fun with it and really get the most out of your space.
So let's tie this back to why we thought this is a good topic for this Culture of Care Summit. We spend so much time in meetings, and we are people. And care is about taking care of people. The pillars of care can be used to support meetings in multiple ways. Here are just a few of the examples that we came up with. So going back to setting a positive tone, we can spend a minute or two to communicate individual or group recognition. One of the things that I think our university is doing right is sharing the student voice in every town hall. We get to see a 2 to 3 minute video of a student explaining what having their degree, attending UAGC, what the support here means to them and their lives. It is so, so inspiring to hear and see our why in these meetings. Advocacy occurs when we intentionally include others and help support their voice, ideas, and point of view. When we set up our meetings with intentionality, when we include people with intentionality, it helps attendees feel welcome and more comfortable participating. And feeling seen and heard in a meeting, that's powerful. An example of respect is preparing attendees with an agenda and meeting pre-work so they do not feel put on the spot. They'll have an idea of what is expected of them and can show up ready to participate fully. I have been invited to meetings where I show up with no idea what I'm doing there and nothing prepared. And then I get asked a question that's incredibly detailed and feels really put on the spot. We can help avoid making others feel that discomfort by the planning ahead. Some of the tools we will share empower attendees to engage during a meeting in low pressure ways, including anonymously. This encourages their participation and sharing of their thoughts. Remember, the easier we make engagement, the more empowered attendees are to participate. We also want to mention that these tools should be used carefully when they make the most sense. So in alignment with your meeting goals. As with anything else, if you overuse a tool, it's going to become a routine and might end up causing disengagement, the exact opposite of what we want.
So you probably can sense a theme that's building. That's that fun and productivity are not mutually exclusive. In fact, we've talked about this several times. For example, the point made about creativity in an activity like coloring being able to enhance brainstorming. So let's talk again about tools. I mentioned a few that were available in some of the online platforms that we all use. I shared some fun ways to use virtual backgrounds, but what about when you need to add that element of productivity in? So some tools that really leverage fun and productivity together include things like the breakout rooms. Certainly, you can do breakout rooms in person. Most virtual spaces have this available and great for that small group collaboration. But if you also want it to result in a productive time spent, you have to set expectations for the outcomes. Just like Alexa was just talking about with meeting agendas. As you go into activities, let people know why. What do you expect to achieve by the end of that time? Letting them know ahead of time helps them to stay focused on the goal at hand. Be clear about the time people will have in the breakout rooms. Encourage each group to focus on their own by having them designate roles like a note taker, a timekeeper. And be sure to hold meeting time on the back end of your breakout rooms so that everyone can engage in a rapid fire share out when they're brought back to the main room. Polls and reactions are another great productivity tool that can add fun. So you can use these to quickly gauge opinions, check for understanding. You can make decisions in real time by having people indicate what they agree with, what they don't, or what they might have as a preference. Chat is another great way to keep the flow of the meeting going while being able to answer questions, share links to documents and other resources without interrupting the speaker. You can also use chat for things like one-word pulse checks. If you need to do a temp check throughout the meeting, you can take it a step further by asking people to drop an emoji in the chat. How are they feeling? Something I like to do is kick off a meeting with a pulse check and then add another one midway through. Am I losing people during the meeting? Like that's telling me we've got to bring the engagement back. Are people sticking with me? Those types of pulse checks will keep people engaged in the meeting and help for you as a meeting facilitator to understand which direction you may need to go. The other thing I'd like to talk about is being proactive ahead of time, specific to technology. So it's not just about the agenda and the expectations for the meeting, but do people know how they're going to use the technology that you're going to leverage? So if somebody needs to be able to have a laptop accessible, a cell phone to participate, this should be communicated prior to the meeting even starting. Let them know ahead of time what they need to bring with them. It's also really helpful at the beginning of a meeting to walk through the in-space technology that you might be asking them to use. For example, explain where the reaction button is and ask them to give you a thumbs up to indicate that they see it and they know how to use it. Explain how you use the chat and ask them to drop a word or an emoji in the chat to share how they're feeling, to indicate that they know where that space can be found and how to access it. This will ensure that people understand both expectations for engagement and how they will be taking part in the meeting. And it contributes to better flow when you do not have to stop mid-activity to give instructions or to troubleshoot issues. Alexa, would you like to talk about some of the additional online meeting tools that we have found available?
So I think we've covered some of these as we've gone through or at least mentioned them. So on this slide of tools that Stephanie and I have used at various times in various meetings, you'll probably recognize several of them. So this is not the be-all end-all list. If you are curious about the availability of something, do an online search. If you've thought about it, I'm sure someone else has thought about it and they've created a platform that's out there and there's so many free tools, you'll likely find what you're looking for. So online meeting platforms like Zoom and Teams do have those built-in tools or available apps to add to your meetings. Two that we are calling out are the whiteboards and the polls. So if you think about a recent meeting that you were in, how could one or both of these have been used for you? And really think outside of the box. So in our annual holiday team meeting, it's a team building event where the goal of the meeting is to celebrate my team and to have fun with each other. My team and I actually used the Zoom whiteboard to play Pictionary. Now, a few ideas for using an interactive poll do include, similar to as Stephanie was saying, assessing knowledge or comfort with a subject, start and end of a meeting, tallying votes on important topics, or even collecting decisions. Or you could include trivia throughout the presentation. Now, AHA Slides and Mentimeter are similar platforms where you actually build your presentation in them, including the interactive piece. So switching between a PowerPoint and a survey screen can be disruptive in a meeting. These platforms support that smooth flow to help you have everything in the one platform. You don't have to switch screens. A function I appreciate and was actually used in Stephanie's meeting that led to this idea for this session was a simple setup of a question where people could answer multiple times. So, for example, if I were to ask, how do you show care to your coworkers? People might reply with things like, I help when they ask. I give them important information. I make sure my work is done on time so theirs is not delayed. Or I listen to them. They could have so many answers. And the thing about this specific platform was it allowed all attendees to add their answers without being distracted or discouraged while other people were talking. There are some standard options that come with these and other survey platforms, such as Microsoft Forms or SurveyMonkey. And these include multiple choice, ranking, rating, and open text box answers. A final cool thing about the AHA slides and the Mentimeter is that you can actually see the answers in real time. So you might see a graph of ratings actually change up and down as answers come in, or you might see a word cloud with the common words in the answers show up as people are answering them. So lastly, we did include Fortune Wheel. A quick internet search provides multiple options to make yourself a word wheel with the answers or options that you want included. I have seen this function used to create raffle wheels that have been used at the end of webinars or conferences. I have seen it used to randomize the topic that you discussed that day. And I've even seen it used to play games. The key point to take from this slide is to use the goal of your meeting as your guide when choosing the digital tools to include. What do you want at the end of the meeting, and which tool can help you get it? We hope that this overview has given you food for thought on refreshing your meetings. We encourage you to explore available tools and resources, and if those shared today aren't quite what you need, just search online. We'd also love to hear about what works for you or any new ideas that you have tried. So please find us on LinkedIn and connect with us there, or reach out directly via email.
When we lead with care, with connection, and with a little bit of fun, meetings become more than just another item on our calendars. They become spaces where ideas thrive, people feel seen, and real progress happens. So as you head back to your own meetings, remember the energy you bring sets the tone. Make space for joy, foster genuine connections, and watch how your colleagues not only show up, but shine. Let's bring the fun, and success will follow. Thank you so much.